My name is Britton Jacobson, and this is my very first video. I am super excited. Thank you so much for clicking on the video and for watching. This is a channel that I'm starting for the purpose of intentionally pushing myself in a creative outlet. I hope that it will be I intend for it to be a creative outlet. I have lots of ideas, lots of different subjects that I'm interested in, and I think it would be good for me to kind of have to think through them kind of to the end and the conclusion, and then present and communicate that, and hopefully over time interact with others. So that's the reason I'm starting the channel, and I'm really excited to get started. I normally want the presentation to be a little bit more business casual, or maybe more professional, but we're in the middle of coronavirus quarantine, and my hair would definitely cause too many dislikes. So we are rolling with as is. I talk a lot with my hands, and so expect to see them waving around. Let me know if it's too distracting. I'm always have a need to improve, so feel free to share your thoughts and opinions. This first video, I intend to be a little bit of an introduction to myself, a little bit kind of a background on where I'm coming from, so that hopefully you then can be in a better position to understand me, understand my ideas, which hopefully then will help you think a little bit more intellectually and deeply about the ideas and thoughts that I have and maybe why I have them. So that's the theory. To start, I grew up in Central Oregon on the West Coast in the United States, and kind of the Bend Redmond Sisters area, high desert. I grew up on acreage. I spent thousands of hours playing outside. We had friends who had worked on major ranches. I was outdoors all the time. I was coming up with games, digging around in the dirt, all kinds of stuff. I'm the oldest of 8 kids. I went me, and then 4 girls, and then 3 boys. My mom and my dad raised us together. My dad was working in publishing, and my mom was obviously focused on doing a lot to deal with the 8 kids. And they now actually have what they're both doing together now is kind of family and faith ministries. So my dad's actually Faithful Man, brand repping this morning, and my mom's is Club 31 Women. And I grew up kind of a conservative thought background, and I was homeschooled, which I think when you put those two together, most people probably have, probably more emotionally based than anything else, but a perspective on kind of a theory with maybe a hardcore fundamental background. That's not where I'm coming from. That wasn't my experience growing up. Not to say that there weren't influences there, for sure, just by nature of the zeitgeist at the time, but that's something I think that's good to be aware of, and I've definitely morphed in some ways and have some development of thought beyond that, but I would say it's still fundamental to kind of my background and where I'm coming from. Kind of where I got to where I'm at today, which is a young professional in Washington, D.C. Well, I live in Arlington and I work in Washington, D.C. It kind of all started in high school. At the time, it was time to figure out what I wanted to do for college, and I didn't know. And the reason being is I had too many interests, too many things that I was interested in, too many thoughts and areas that I could get involved in, and stemming from math, reading, philosophy, debate, politics, sports. The list was kind of endless, and I didn't know what to do at all. What ended up happening was I was in a Western civilization course, which my dad was actually teaching, kind of a history class, and we got to the 600s, which, if you don't know, is kind of it was the time of the rise of Islam. And as a result of just the history that we were pursuing there, we weren't doing anything other than reading history. I actually then kind of got sidetracked into reading a lot about terrorism and counterterrorism, and that kind of awoke in me a desire to be in a position where I could say no to the most physical, what I view to be the most physical manifestation of evil, or one of the most physical manifestations of evil in the world. I do believe in good and evil, so I'm sure that will flesh itself out more in future videos. But that set me on a path. It was, do I pursue the military? Do I pursue colleges that have courses and programs that are kind of related to counterterrorism? And I ended up only applying to Patrick Henry College in Purcellville, Virginia, which is a conservative liberal arts school. The reason, honestly, the main reason I applied was because it had one of the oldest and most established programs in the area that I was interested in, which was government strategic intelligence. And so thankfully I was accepted, and it technically took me 4 years, but I completed all but like 1 or 2 of my classes in the first 3 years. And so summer of my junior year, I actually started working full-time in unarmed security and part-time armed security. And over the course of that year, I kind of realized that I still had the same issue that I had back in high school, which is that I have a lot of different things that I'm interested in. And so the challenge became, well, what are you going to do if you're not going to focus on paramilitary counterterrorism, which overseas, which is what I've been studying and pursuing for 5.5 years. That in and of itself was a struggle. What happened was I went to it was a kind of a talk that was being put on by a startup graduate school in Washington, D.C. And as I was there, a couple of people that were influential in getting the school going came up to me and said, hey, we're looking for different people to help us work on different components of the school. And they ended up, over the course of a few conversations, making a job offer. And it was a little bit higher than the analyst-related positions that I had been offered as I was exploring my options. I joined there. That led to the next 2.5 years being the most crazy, insane, probably the most crazy, insane experiences of my life. The reason being, that sounds crazy, right? The reason being is, one, we were trying to develop a brand new startup graduate school in the middle of Washington, D.C. in the area of national security, information operations, and managing violence and disruption. So that's a Herculean effort in and of itself. We dealt with 4 different executive leadership changes over the course of 2 years, the first 2 years. And then we also dealt with, we were in the Washington Post for sexual harassment lawsuits and allegations and all kinds of stuff. It was crazy. And the reason it was crazy for me is mostly because I and one other individual were in the middle of everything. And the reason that was is because as we were going through all the different executive leadership changes, we kind of sat at the center of the operations side of the company or of the startup. And so each new team that came in relied really heavily on us. And that forced me in particular to be, polish up professionally and polish up personally in so many different ways. It was crazy. I have a lot of interesting situations that occurred during that time. And at the same time, though, it set me on a phenomenal path. At the end of the 2.5 years, we finally had achieved some equilibrium with the leadership, and I was looking for something new, and I ended up joining EverFi, which is where I'm at now. I've been at EverFi for about 18 months, give or take, and basically we are a global digital education technology company. We are named a Fast Company 2020 Most Innovative Company, and we build digital courses around social impact issues. So we have digital well-being, we have opioid abuse and recovery, alcohol abuse and recovery, we have sexual harassment, we have STEM-related financial literacy. You name it, we probably have some content related to the subject. And we partner with major institutions to provide those courses for free to K through 12 students. And then we sell directly or have customers directly with higher education institutions, and then also B2B or business to business, which is kind of more focused on culture and workplace, sexual harassment in the workplace, best practices, that kind of thing. So I am the director of facilities and operations for the company, and that has been an amazing experience in and of itself because I've been able to be exposed to some of the most incredibly talented, brilliant people that one could possibly be exposed to, and it is really inspiring and motivating for me to be around that and around that kind of culture. So that's where I'm at now, and we will see where things go in the future there. I'm excited about the company. It's really awesome. So that kind of is where I'm sitting at today. And I think I'll then also now share a little bit more with kind of topics that I'm interested in and like a little bit more on the personal business side and things that I'm focused on. Over time, I would like to be able to be in a position where I have an operating company and actually multiple different businesses underneath that. The reason for that is not so much that I love being an entrepreneur. Like the typical reasons that you hear is, oh, I love being an entrepreneur. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I love starting companies. I love my product, or I love the grind. I'm all about the grind. Those, not that there's anything wrong with that, but the reason that I'm pursuing my career in business development over time, the way that I am, is because I would like to be able to build a platform which will allow me to have the most impact that I can over the course of my lifetime. Like that is what I'm doing and why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm approaching that through the development of multiple businesses, because I would like to have over the next 5 to 7 years, like 2, 3, 4 things all hitting at the end of that period versus having one thing that I am developing and working on solely for the next 5 to 7 years. That's just my approach. We will see if it works. It certainly might not, but we will find out together. In terms of where I'm at today, earlier this year, I co-founded along with a friend of mine, Chosen Candle. Essentially what we do, they're homemade, handmade candles, really clean burning, et cetera, et cetera. But we give a certain percentage of the profits to anti-human trafficking organizations each year. And so for instance, this year we are supporting Operation Underground Railroad and International Justice Mission. And that'll probably change over time. But I'm really excited about that. I think we literally just launched in February. That was amazing. We had 2 weeks to get everything up and running because we were trying to be a part of a Valentine's box situation. It was crazy, but it was a lot of fun. I have a business management consulting company that I'm also partnered up with another different friend of mine who's actually working with me at the Daniel Morgan Graduate School. That is Jacobson Freese Consulting. And we helped a couple clients last year. And essentially, we're just trying to combine, he's in law school right now, but we're trying to combine kind of his background in IT and law and kind of best practices when it comes to technology, and then my background in business operations and management and organization together. And we think we could be in a position to help people. We had a trial by fire, and we're really, again, we have plenty of years to develop and grow, but at least for where we're at, we're really good at what we do. So I'm excited to see what happens there. And then in terms of kind of topics that I'm interested in over time from a business perspective, I am interested, and I intend to do videos on all of these different things over time. So you'll be there with me. I'm interested in esports, specifically the Call of Duty League, mostly because it's the one that I know the most about, because I play Call of Duty with like my friends and my younger brothers. I didn't start till college though, so a little bit of a grain of salt there. There's a lot of opportunity in the esports world. I am really curious to see what could happen over the next 10 years just due to technology, awareness, access to internet, and general development just as an industry. I think there's a lot that can happen there. So I'd like to be a part of that because that could be really cool and interesting. I'm interested in investing, not from a stock picker standpoint. I don't really do that. Or if I do, it's like at a really tiny scale and I do it for fun or mostly for the sake of having a little bit of, skin in the game when testing or watching a particular stock. Mostly I just do index investing. I find that to be the safest, but I like tracking the market and being aware of what's happening and why, in as much as one can, sometimes not at all understand, but endeavoring to understand why things happen within business and within industries. So that's something else. I'm interested in entrepreneurship in general. I mostly specifically related to building up of a new company and organizing it and approaching it the right way, creating a new industry. and or tweaking a new industry or an old industry, and then kind of the pivoting and improving of a company that it's going to be necessary to do over the next several years or decades, etc., as technology and the world changes. So those are kind of on the businessy side of things. Real estate's another one. I spent a fair bit. I understand commercial real estate decently well, like specifically office tenant real estate, because that's a lot of my background is in that. But I'm kind of interested in pursuing that as well. I've spent some time researching, and that'll continue to develop over time. I don't know if my first venture into that will be commercial or if it will be residential or multifamily, but we'll see. Finally, I am interested in kind of general societal questions, right? The business environment, the world environment exists because of the society that is around it and that supports it. I think that is something that is really important and probably isn't always talked about as fundamentally as it should be. And there's evidence of that in, small businesses and the passion that people have for them, both as customers and as founders and owners and employees. And then I'm also interested in philosophy, questions of faith, religion, points of view, goodness, righteousness, evil, truth. Those are all things that I think play literally a fundamental role in who anyone is and what they're doing or what they're not doing. And so I think it's really valuable to self-reflect and communicate with others and learn from others on that general subject matter. As far as what you can expect from me in the future, I'm hoping to do 1 to 2, I'm hoping 2 uploads a week. We will see how that goes. And I'm probably do like a Monday, Wednesday release. And on basically as I'm walking through all these different things, thinking about them, having conversations with friends and colleagues, doing videos on these. I'll probably organize them based on subject matter. Hopefully that's kind of the plan. That'll also have to develop over time. But I'm excited. And I think that's the main thing for this first introductory video. You can find me on Instagram at BourneGreat, BourneGreat. He was the Bourne series was one of my favorites in high school and kind of one of my first movie heroes, so to speak. I'm still a huge fan of those movies. And you can find me on Twitter at Britton Jacobson, though I'm still developing that as a platform, so we will kind of see what that looks like over time. And other than that, one thing I did want to mention was, I think a lot of people, when they hear about all the ideas and all the thoughts that I have, assume that I'm approaching life in a very disorganized fashion. For what it's worth, I don't find that to be the case. The way that my mind thinks, it's very much of a kind of a matrix is the way I think of it, where everything is actually connected with one another, and what general principles that work in one industry can be applied in different industries or different situations. And what is helping me think about one topic might help me think about a different topic. It's forcing me out of my comfort zone. It's helping me think outside of the box. And so that doesn't always mean I'm taking action on all the different topics and ideas and thoughts that I have, but I do find them to be connected and actually make sense, at least to me, in how they're connected. And so I did want to throw that out there. I think that's it. Thank you so much for joining me. I am really excited, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.